The ANC Youth League's task team meeting this weekend turned violent when a fight broke out between factions. The National Task Team met with members on Saturday to discuss next year's conference, but the meeting descended into absolute chaos when members from Youth League branches in Mamelodi and Hammaskraal hurled chairs at one another before a 25-year-old member was shot and killed. Joining us now from our Pretoria studios is Sizo Mkhize, the spokesperson for the ANC Youth League's National Task Team. Let's welcome her to Morning Live. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Sizo, can you tell us exactly what happened that led to the killing of the 25-year-old ANC Youth League member on Saturday?
Well, unfortunately, we don't really have a sense of what really led to the shooting, because the shooting happened outside the venue, but within the vicinity. So it was just outside the hall where the shooting happened. We do understand, though, that while the assembly was continuing, there were comrades who were singing persistently in a bit disruptive manner. And then when they were tried to be calmed and to be told that no, you need to stop singing so that we can continue with the assembly, it was then when a physical fight broke down. But when all was calm and comrades were trying to now proceed with the assembly, gunshots were heard from outside, and when comrades went outside to check what has happened, discovered that unfortunately 2 of our members have been shot, one badly injured, and the other unfortunately lost his life.
Yeah. Sizo, are you able to identify the deceased at this point?
Yes, we have went to the family as the National Youth Task Team, and we're also going today. Comrade Litabo has been a member of COSAS, an activist of COSAS, and also an activist of the ANC Youth League. He's the person who passed on.
Okay, all right. And, you know, I can imagine, I mean, what we have got is a 25-year-old, and many saying that he was actually one of the people that organized this particular meeting. Is that true? Is that sort of the role that he was playing in this particular gathering?
Well, it is not true. The meeting was called by the National Youth Task Team, working together with the Regional Executive Committee. So it was not really an event organizer, but the event was organized by ourselves as the National Youth Task Team and the Regional Executive Committee.
I know that some media are reporting that he was trying to break up a fight, and while he was trying to break it up, he was shot in the process. Can you confirm that? Are those the sort of details around his killing?
Like I said, that the shooting happened outside the hall, so it is difficult for NYTT to tell what really happened that led to the shooting. But there are eyewitnesses who witnessed the scene and who were able to see the man who did it, because he did not cover himself. And they are working closely with law enforcement to make sure that the person who actually shot and killed Comrade Thabo is brought to book.
Any other witnesses? What are they saying about this? Do you know the identity of the individual? We know that he drove off, as you mentioned, but do you know the identity? Are the police searching for a specific individual?
Yes, the police are searching for the specific individual, and we have advised the comrades who are eyewitnesses that they speak directly to the police as far as this matter is concerned, because it is a criminal offense, it's a crime, and we do not want to have them speaking to everyone and anyone, and which might end up jeopardizing the case. So they are working closely with police in making sure that the man is tracked down. Some are able to know him, some are saying they can see him if he were to appear. And the car that he drove off, it does has registration, contrary to what has been reported, and it is known. So we are hoping that maybe by the week goes by, the man should be arrested, because it's not, we don't believe that it's really difficult to track him down and find him, because he drove off in a known car with a known registration. So with those details, we believe that police can be able to assist us and arrest the man.
So, okay, so no update as of this morning on the investigation or the search for this man, as you say, driving off in a known vehicle, which I'm reading the identity was a silver BMW, and the registration is known to you. Any updates at this point?
At this point, we have no updates.
Okay.
We'll be sitting our agent meeting as the NYTT, and then after that, we will see the family, and then later meet with the police to get what is happening, what is the progress on the investigation.
Just one more update before we talk about the root cause of what is going on within the ANC Youth League. You mentioned earlier that there were 2 people that were involved in this, so we've obviously spoken to the deceased, but the other one we believe has been rushed to hospital in a rather serious condition. Update on this individual?
We've seen the comrade who was wounded, and he is still recovering in hospital, and we hope that he is going to come out alive. He's a very strong young man, and he's also a leader in the region of Tshwane. So we believe that he's going to recover well and is going to come back to us.
All right, let's talk to what's actually happening now, because it seems that, I mean, this is not the first incident. Obviously, this is a devastating incident that has landed in the death of a young individual, 25-year-old male, that was so actively involved in the ANC Youth League. And, you know, this is now something that we've seen in Limpopo. Things also were brought to a standstill. At another meeting, things were brought to a standstill. Let's focus on this particular meeting here between the ANC Youth League and Mamelodi and Hammaskraal. Were you aware of the factionalism in the branches? And if so, how long has this been going on for?
Well, we are aware that the ANC Youth League is a very broad organization, and every young person is fighting for space within the ANC Youth League. And disagreements and festival of ideas is what characterize the ANC Youth League. We just didn't anticipate that these disagreements, these different ideas may lead to such violence. We've always thought that disagreements are manageable, comrades are able to speak, and with no one being injured or harmed.
Yeah. So you knew about this factionalism, and you know, we saw the one in Limpopo also degenerating into absolute chaos and then having to be cancelled. Surely this was a sign of things to come.
Well, it's a very sad state of affairs, and we have said that as the NYTT, let us immediately postpone these assemblies and perhaps sit down, because we cannot be arrogant when we have lost a life and say we are continuing with these assemblies. Clearly, they've been infiltrated by thuggery behavior. So for us to be able to sit down and relook at how we rebuild and revive the ANC Youth League, we have said let us postpone these assemblies, sit down and come back with perhaps a new strategy on how do we include young people, how do we revive and rebuild the ANC Youth League.
You know, the City Press yesterday were actually reporting that members from the Mamelodi ANC Youth League wrote a letter to the task team to inform them about the violence between the factions, the Hammaskraal and the Mamelodi factions, and cautioned the task team about the dangers of this location. What is your response to this, and how are members, whether or not they were allowed in with guns or not, I mean, carrying guns and arms into these meetings?
Well, look, the meetings, as much as they are called by the National Youth Task Team, but we then say give powers of choosing of venues and dates to the regions. We indeed receive a letter in the office of the coordinator, and upon receiving the letter, we contacted the region to say, here are concerns that have been raised by certain comrades on as far as the venue is concerned, and the safety, therefore. But we are given assurance by the region, the ANC and the ANC Youth League leadership. They gave us assurance that comrades will be safe, there is no threat, and we did not really anticipate such violence. I mean, Tshwane Youth Assembly was the most attended across the country. I think plus 1,000 young people attended that assembly. So we really had thought that it was going to be a success.
Which, as we now see, wasn't. What is the problem? What is happening within the ANC Youth League? I mean, we keep on talking about factions, we keep on talking about the rift that's existing and the fighting, the internal battles, we can't continue. What is the root cause of all of this? What's going on?
Look, the ANC Youth League, as you know, it's the youth wing of the ANC. The problems we are facing, most of them emanates from the fights within the mother body itself. Now, young people end up getting used by the ANC leaders, ANC factions in their own battles. Now, you find those battles escalating to the ANC Youth League and escalating in our meetings. I mean, you take, for instance, what happened in Waterberg. It is a known fact that there have been a lot of bad things that have been happening in the region, the killing of ANC comrades, the divisions within that region. And we had believed and trusted the ANC that it was going to be able to bring the people responsible for such divisions to book. And unfortunately, we have not really seen that. So we are just faced with fights of the ANC escalating to the ANC Youth League and young people being used by old people who have resources in their own fights that have necessarily nothing to do with the ANC Youth League.
Yeah. These are quite serious allegations that are being put forward towards the mother body, if one could call that, of the ANC. Can you give us examples? I mean, what is actually happening where we're saying that the fighting is due to the main leadership within the ANC? So, in other words, what you're saying is that this factionalism within the ANC is filtering into every single division that exists within the ruling party.
Look, the ANC Youth League is a very influential organization within the mass democratic movement. Everyone who would think they want to ascend to certain positions will obviously bank on the support of the ANC Youth League. So in many instances, you find that in divisions across the country, in regions, in provinces, certain leaders of the ANC would want to be associated with the ANC Youth League so that they may ascend, or the ANC Youth League may support them in ascending to certain positions. Now, the ANC has divisions. I mean, it's a known fact. Now, unfortunately, young people get themselves used in these fights. They get themselves used as either a supporting structure for certain individual leaders for them to be able to ascend to positions.
If we look at the ANC Youth League and its meaningful contribution, ever since the departure of the former ANC Youth League leader, Julius Malema, it just seems as if the ANC Youth League has fallen apart. Colin Maine, he was leader. It didn't seem to have any notable effects, and this was, a very big issue for the Youth League. Do you ever see the Youth League becoming relevant again? Do you see yourselves picking up the pieces and reforming and realigning this movement?
Look, not all is lost in the ANC Youth League, and we understand that, like any other political organization, the ANC Youth League is also facing challenges, which this National Youth Task Team is determined to accomplish its task, which is to rebuild the ANC Youth League to revive the ANC Youth League and to be able to bring back the ANC Youth League to its former glory. Young people are still yearning for the voice of the ANC Youth League, because the ANC Youth League has always been one organization that championed the interest of young people, that fights for young people's rights and all that. So the ANC Youth League is indeed going to come back. It is going to take sweat, obviously. It is not going to be an easy journey, but we are determined and we are committed to revive the ANC Youth League, to rebuild the ANC Youth League. And I can promise you that when we finally go to the National Congress next year, the ANC Youth League would have been able to emerge victorious against all odds.
Sizo, just a final question. I mean, you say to the National Conference next year. That's scheduled for March next year. As has been mentioned, ever since what happened now in Hammaskraal, all gatherings have now been suspended, cancelled until further notice. How are you going to reach that? How do you believe you're still on track to, in March, come together and actually have this National Conference to elect leadership?
Like I said, we have not really run out of ideas. We are sitting today and we'll be able in our today's meeting to come out with a strategy of how do we then move forward from what has happened over the weekend. And there are many suggestions that are coming in. We'll obviously test all of them in the meeting and take decisions in the meeting and then be able to move forward, and we will deliver the Congress. I don't believe that we are no longer capable, and I don't believe that this will then delay or derail us from delivering the Congress, which is our task.
All right, we'll leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time, and yeah, good luck for the meeting ahead. It's an absolute pleasure. Sizo Mkhize is the spokesperson for the ANC Youth League's National Task Team, talking to us about the factionalism within the league between the Mamelodi and Hammaskraal branches as well as other branches. And of course, this now has led to a member being shot dead on Saturday.